Hello and welcome to News 18 Global with me, Ayushman Singh Jamwal. Our top story, ladies and gentlemen, House Republicans are holding the first Biden impeachment hearing today. The inquiry will delve into the business dealings of President Joe Biden and his son, Hunter Biden. Republicans have accused the Biden family of leveraging political power for business gains, claiming Joe Biden lied about his family's overseas business dealings, adding that he had not taken steps to wall them off from his official duties when he served as vice president between 2009 and 2017. But Republicans have yet to uncover evidence of wrongdoing by Biden after months of initial investigations that have produced thousands of pages of financial records. It is unclear if House Republicans, who have a narrow 221 to 212 majority, would have the votes at the end of the inquiry to support an actual impeachment. But even if that vote succeeded, it is highly unlikely that the Senate, where the Democrats hold a 51 to 49 majority, would vote to remove Biden from office. At the center of the investigation are allegations that Biden, as vice president, pressured Ukraine to fire a top prosecutor because the lawyer was investigating Burisma, a company for which Hunter Biden was on the board of directors.
I'm Lisa Mascaro. I'm the chief congressional correspondent for the Associated Press.
Second, coordinate more support for survivors, families, and communities affected by gun violence, including mental health care, financial assistance, the same way FEMA responds to natural disasters.
House Republicans will launch their first impeachment inquiry Thursday into President Joe Biden. This is the first public hearing in the impeachment inquiry, but House Republicans are not expected to drop any new bombshell evidence or even have major witnesses to testify at this hearing. The hearing Thursday is what we call a bit of a table setter. It's a chance for the Republicans to show for the American people, for the Congress, for the world at large, what they believe is their evidence as they begin to mount this inquiry into President Biden. At this point, however, House Republicans have really been probing the president's son, Hunter Biden, and his business dealings during the time that President Biden was vice president some years ago. What the House Republicans have not yet been able to show is any hard evidence linking Hunter Biden's business dealings with any improper actions by President Joe Biden.
And I'm joined by Ray Locker, author and journalist, to decode the entire political dynamics surrounding this pitch that has come in from the Republican Party to take on Joe Biden. Thank you, Mr. Locker, for joining us on CNN News 18. How do you see this pitch coming in from the Republican Party? It's a thin majority in the House of Representatives and Congress. In the Senate, of course, the Democrats have the edge. What's the political endgame here?
The ending is this goes nowhere. He might get impeached by the House only because they're desperate and they're looking for a way to damage the president. But beyond that, he's not going to be convicted by the Senate. You need a 2/3 majority to do that. He's not even, it's not even going to get close to that. He probably won't even get a majority in the Senate for conviction. So this is all a waste of time. It's a political exercise. As you've said, as the previous report said, there's no evidence. There's no evidence of any kind. And some of the impeachment managers yesterday were in a news conference, asked about their evidence, told that they had no evidence, and they couldn't answer the questions. They were like, well, you'll never believe us. Well, because you don't have the evidence. So this is a waste of time. It was ginned up to damage the president's political standing. It might happen because, after all, they're having a hearing, so there must be something there, right? Well, traditionally, that's the way it goes, but it's not going to happen that way this time.
Right. But Mr. Locker, I remember when it came to the previous elections, when Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden, all it mattered to the MAGA base were the charges. Donald Trump threw multiple charges. His entire legal team, who have now been disgraced, went around the different courts of the country to say that the elections were rigged. They had no evidence. Even in their court filings, they would say, we have no evidence of fraud, even though they were saying that fraud has been committed out in public during all their press conferences. So at the end of the day, it is a political pitch. I completely agree with you. But will this rally the MAGA base once more? That seems to be the end game, where Donald Trump wants to put his mugshot over there, saying that the Justice Department has been weaponized, saying that at the same time, when it comes to the corruption by the Biden family, that is being thrown under the rug. So at the end of the day, it's all about political posturing. And like we saw with the January 6th insurrection, that is the end game. How do you rile up the base to take on one political rival?
Right. Well, let's be clear about this. The base is not the majority of the Republican Party. It might be half of the Republican Party. It's certainly not the majority of the U.S. population. So it doesn't take much to get these people riled up. They're enthralled by Trump. They're part of the Trump cult. That might be enough to get him the nomination again against a divided field that seems powerless to challenge him in any meaningful way. But it's not enough to run the United States of America. And I mean, the people who believe this, unfortunately, are some of the most misguided and easily misled people in this country, sad to say. And so they may get riled up. That might be enough to get Trump the nomination in a divided field because no one else is getting any traction. But it's not the majority of Americans.
I completely agree. It's not the majority of Americans, but you also have that voodoo of the Electoral College where it doesn't really matter who gets the popular vote. And at the same time, you also have Donald Trump, who is way ahead of the other Republicans when it comes to the nomination for the Republican Party. And it's all about who can energize the base to come out. If the Democrats, if Joe Biden can't energize the base like he did when he was facing off against Trump for the first time, then the Democrats are really in serious trouble when it comes to only the Electoral College arithmetic. And you agree that no matter how many popular votes you get, it's the Electoral College which will decide who becomes president, and that will become a critical fight in the swing states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, and all the others.
Well, you've hit on the exact challenge here. It's the Electoral College. So if Democrats are not motivated to vote, and I don't know why they wouldn't be, but if they're not motivated to vote next year, and Trump has his base and they're motivated enough to pick off, I think the key swing states now are Arizona and Georgia, then he gets elected president because of the peculiarities of our system, which is outdated and needs to have been changed decades ago. That's the big fear. But his base is not as big as it used to be, and there are a lot of Republicans, believe it or not, who look at him and say, I cannot vote for this man, and they won't do it. And there has to be enough of them in the key swing states to make a difference. I don't see Trump getting a majority anymore in Pennsylvania, but he could come close. He probably will win Ohio, which is kind of flipped to Republicans. It used to be a swing state. I don't see it that way anymore. So yeah, there are areas of concern if his base seems sufficiently motivated. But I mean, we have 4 criminal indictments going on right now. Those are legal efforts that are, trials are going to happen. People are going to start flaking off of his supporters because they just can't take it anymore.
Right. But from the media, all you can see is that even though, Trump is facing that legal firestorm, he's called it a political hatchet job. At the same time, the MAGA Republicans are the loudest voices when it comes to Republican politics. And the vice presidents, at the end of the day, I'm calling them vice presidents because I think the Republicans are fighting for the vice presidency when it comes to Donald Trump. The Republican contenders are really pulling their punches when it comes to talking about Donald Trump. I saw a little bit of shift in the last debate which happened between the other contenders, but still Donald Trump is way ahead. At the end of the day, Ray Locker, do you think that it will be the moderate Republicans who have seen 4 years of Donald Trump, who have seen, let's face it, the embarrassing 4 years of Donald Trump, and they see Joe Biden as someone who is not too woke, if you will, to vote for when it comes to the presidential elections?
Yeah, I think that's what happened in 2020. I think that's going to happen again next year, despite what the polls say, how close it is. There are just a lot of people out there, enough to make a difference in a general election, who will not vote for Donald Trump. I mean, at least 50% of the voters say, no way. He's never come close to getting 50% in either election. I mean, so he is a minority candidate who, at best, can hope for some kind of peculiarity in the Electoral College to help get him elected.